Japanese reactions to the Will Smith incident are quite surprising. This is an interview with an ex-mayor of Osaka, Toru Hashimoto. Think about that. A Japanese politician made a comment on this. He said, "I understand how Will Smith feels. But if I were him, I would just punch him in my imagination." If they accept violence, people are gonna start thinking that Putin's invasion is also okay. It's bizarre to bring up Putin's invasion. These are totally different things. And of course, Japanese people think that it's not the same thing. This is my personal opinion. It's definitely not the same. And we've got Dave Spector explaining the background story. He's a famous American person in Japan who often appears on Japanese TV. But the most surprising thing to me is Japanese people's reactions to this event. I personally sympathize with Will. I think the organizers should think a little more who they pick as a presenter. Chris Rock should apologize to the wife sincerely. I don't understand people only criticize Will and he has to pay a big price. Chris has to thank Will for slapping him instead of punching him. If I were in Chris Rock's place, I would apologize for hurting Will to the point where he had to slap him. Words are proper weapons, and they are far more critical towards Chris Rock. I find that quite interesting and frankly surprising. But come to think about it, Japanese comedians usually don't push themselves to make offensive jokes. I think it's quite rare for Japanese comedians to get criticized because their jokes are offensive. But with English-speaking comedians, they often make offensive jokes about things like race, religion, politics, current events, which I often like, actually. So it's important for them to be sufficiently offensive, but not too offensive. From this perspective, Japanese people are not necessarily used to offensive jokes. Another thing is casual violence, like slapping, is pretty common on Japanese TV. Japanese comedians often casually slap each other, and it's a normal thing. This is interesting considering the fact that Japan has much fewer violent crimes than the United States. But you can say that in a country like Japan, where it's very important to be respectful and save other people's faces, a lot of people apparently think that offensive statements like that can be more problematic than slapping. And I find this kind of cultural difference quite fascinating. And if you want to know more, I will teach you the kind of Japanese the real-life Japanese people today actually speak, because textbooks and apps can be unnatural and outdated. So click the link and subscribe to my email group, Japanese with Yuta.